Well, the reviews are in, friends, and I can already tell you that the buzz around this film is maybe even lower than I ever expected, simply because even my videos covering it aren't getting the same number of views as they were in the original era. I mean, the Captain Marvel drama the first time was one of the things that actually launched a lot of channels in this space, including mine, to new heights. And I can look back and think of several kind of long forms drama stories that helped a lot of channels. I mean, there was the Battlefield 5 stuff, there was the Last of Us stuff, there was the Susie Liu drama, there was the Captain Marvel. There was all these different kind of long-term stories that ran for a very long time that were very good to this channel. Now when I cover Captain Marvel, I know that it was very popular, and I know I gained a lot of subs during that. People don't really care as much anymore, which doesn't bode well for the film. And today the reviews are out, and they are brutal. Even though this is the most protected Marvel film of all time, even the critics have surprised in their reviews. By the way, I want to tell everyone we are rolling out our winter collection today at coffeebrandcoffee.com. We have our real cacao peppermint hot cocoa. Make it with milk. It's a real delicacy. It's not that sugar icicle to the brain stuff you get at the grocery store. It's really nice and delicious stuff. Should be enjoyed and savored. We're also rolling out 3 new types of coffee: peppermint mocha, vanilla sugar cookie, and the Silent Night Silky Dark Roast. Look, the peppermint mocha and vanilla sugar cookie I think are going to sell well because they taste great. If you like dark roast coffee, try this Silent Night Silky Dark Roast. I took a risk on a non-flavored coffee to roll out in Christmas, but once I tasted this, I was like, this is ridiculously good. So make sure you try it. Promo code NovemberFlavor will save you 10% as well. Link in the description below. Now, the Marvel's first reactions. This is what's interesting. First reactions praise short and sweet, astonishingly wacky film, exactly what a comic book movie should be. Now, that's an interesting article from Variety, given what we're about to talk about. Given what we're gonna check out here. Now, this is part of why I got bored with the Marvels. For me, or not with Marvel movies in general. For me, it was the removal of any real stakes. There's no stakes as anything. There was no stakes for anything. Endgame happened. I mean, Civil War happened, and then I was like, oh my God, this was so nuts. People, the characters I loved and watched for years, they're gone, and then poop, they're back. It was like, it made me feel like an idiot. And then came what they did to Thor, turning Thor into the butt of the joke. Taika Waititi was the epitome of terrible Marvel. Now, I get comic books are supposed to be funny, and I guess I'm just talking about my own personal taste. It would be hard to argue that like the James Gunn Guardians of the Galaxies weren't great. At least the first one, I think, was universally liked. And that one was full of a ton of jokes. But Taika Waititi took that to the next level with like Thor Love and Thunder, which was an abomination. Shame on Natalie Portman. Just a soulless, heartless cash grab for her. She looked like she completely mailed it in. They had like CGI muscles. It was pathetic. Chris Hemsworth has to go to the gym 23 hours a day to stay fit so he can play Thor, but then they bring in Natalie Portman and give her CGI muscles. It was pathetic. Her acting was weak. She was clearly there just to cash a check. The story sucked. The movie sucked. The CGI sucked. Everything about that movie sucked. And that was kind of it for me. I stopped caring about Marvel because they stopped caring about Marvel. Now, these articles are coming out running all this, saying it was so great. Well, I assume the reviews are probably really good, right? Oops, they're not. 70 reviews in, okay, 54%. Oop, was 78, it inched up to 55%. Certified rotten. Certified rotten. Like the idea that you have, I mean, remember when they called everyone who said the first Captain Marvel, when they called you all sexist and said that you just couldn't handle, the same critics now are coming out and saying this movie sucks. A 55. Now, if we look at, the long history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there are some stinkers in it. There are. If we just look at movies only, okay, and let's sort by tomato meter, all right? This puts this movie in the 50s, by the way, okay? Barely above the Eternals, barely above Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, but perhaps more importantly, look at this. Their worst performing movies of all time are their newest ones. Thor: Love and Thunder barely eked out a 63%. That was in 2022. The Marvels is at a 54% in 2023. The Eternals, which was pure garbage, 2021, 47%. And Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, 46%, also 2023. I mean, this is nuts. This is what modern Marvel is. Modern Marvel does not put out good movies. Now, Doctor Strange eked out a 73%, but that's not even that great. Not when their high watermark is in the 90s. I mean, you have a lot of these, the original Avengers, 91. Captain America: Civil War, 91. Guardians of the Galaxy, 92. Spider-Man: Homecoming, 92. Shang-Chi, 92 and 98. Still nobody went to see that movie. It was a generic action film, that's fine, but nobody cared about Shang-Chi. Thor: Ragnarok, 93%. Spider-Man, 93. I mean, if you look at how this movie is stacking up against other Marvel films, this tells you exactly why they hid all of this. Wealth of Geeks. So Marvel's isn't the franchise dooming disaster that social media scuttlebutt and the film's lackluster marketing have alluded to, but it will not save Kevin Feige's billion-dollar baby anytime soon. Lee McCoy. Horrible CGI, paper-thin villain. Kamala is next-level annoying, Jar Jar level, cluttered plot, feels writing's a first draft. Captain Marvel is the only saving grace of the bunch, as her personality is an improvement on the first film. A narrative and visual jumble, and the clearest evidence yet that maybe we don't need some sort of Marvel product in theaters or on streaming at all times. These are the same critics that called you all sorts of terrible names, that called you all sorts of terrible things for the past year. These are the same people. The Marvels is the same movie you've seen before, not necessarily done better or worse, but just the same. It's finally official. The MCU has an identity crisis. This film is goofy, schizophrenic, cluttered mishmash of tone and pace with a script so paper thin that the story hardly justifies the merciful Marvel Studios 100-minute runtime. So that seems to confirm that, they essentially trimmed out so much of this movie because it's bad. Because the movie is bad. There's a place in the MCU for whack job silliness, but the Marvels, the bits of absurd comedy tend to feel strained because they clash with the movie's mostly utilitarian tone. A solid contender for the worst Marvel film yet. To say the Marvels is hard to watch would be an understatement. It's not, just that it's not very good. It's hard to watch in the sense that a tree is hard to defibrillate. 1 out of 10. I mean, this is the thing. I'm not quite sure what caused all these critics to so quickly turn on Marvel. Now, my guess is, by the way, the early reviews, just to kind of put this in perspective, the early reviews are generally the people with the earliest access, the people that are the most likely to shill for a movie. If you rock a movie on your early access continually, you're not going to keep getting early access. That's the way it goes. They give access to journalists that give them good reviews. This is why they held off on allowing these reviews out. They knew it was a terrible movie. They absolutely knew it was bad. and they tried to hold off the reviews because tomorrow the movie opens. If these reviews had come out a week ago, like normal, 4, 5, 6 days ahead of the box office, people would have already decided not to see it. A superhero movie clearly made and produced by people who have never read a Marvel comic book, but read Archie instead. It feels like it was made for teen girls, but not actual comic book fans. If you thought the Eternals and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania were low points for a limping Marvel Cinematic Universe, strap in for a ride to abject misery that is the Marvels. 0 out of 4 from the New York Post. When you look at the Eternals, that opened with a 72%, according to my experts, and ended with a 47%. So the starting point of this movie is at a 55. It may go the other way. It may drop into the 40s. Now, it may sneak up. I'm sure that Disney will try to, because they want to be able to say it's certified fresh, even though a 6 out of 10 is what they call certified fresh. The messiest Marvel movie, higher, further, faster, ran the original Captain Marvel's rousing tagline. Have we reached the bottom yet? Not everything has to be Citizen Kane, but there's no reason to settle for fan-servicing junk either. Sorry, but the Marvels is where I draw the line. 0 out of 4. Struggles to stay coherent for a good deal of its relatively brief running time. As is often, this is from a female critic at the Associated Press, by the way. As is often the case with Marvel's girl power attempts, it feels a little pandering in all the wrong places and doesn't really engage with any specific or unique female point of view. Well, you had an all-woman cast. You had a woman director. You had all these women behind the camera. This is perhaps the most embarrassing thing for Marvel yet. Oh, it just dropped. It just dropped down to 52. It's headed the wrong way. As new reviews are, it could go into the 40s. Yikes. This is quite the embarrassment. Make sure you pick up some of Coffee Brand Coffee's delicious winter collection today. Promo code NovemberFlavor to save 10%. Hope you enjoyed this video, though. We'll talk to you again real soon.